Okay, today is Yoga for Strength. First day back at the studio after a big snowstorm, so bear with us. We may have little, if you were like us and plowing snow, you may have a little back strain, you may have like a little tiredness in the body. So today's theme is Ahimsa, which is do no harm. So though this is a class for building strength, I invite you throughout practice to really pay attention to how your body is feeling. And there'll be options of not going further. And listen to your body. That's part of doing no harm. So if there's an option to do a tabletop version rather than a plank version, and you push yourself to the plank version, but your body is tired and sore, are you really practicing that first do no harm? So really invite you throughout practice today to bring that thought to mind. Do no harm. So we're going to start down on our backs. Start down with your feet up, feet down, knees up, sorry. And start to land in the room. Land on your mat. And take note of what is present. Notice what's present in the shoulders. Notice the back. Notice breath. And then we're just going to practice slowing the breath down. So bringing your hands to your torso just underneath your rib cage if it's comfortable for you. Just start to watch your breath. So watch your stomach rise and fall as you breathe and start to slow your breath down. See if with each exhale, maybe there's a little less tension in the physical body. Maybe your shoulders begin to soften and drop a little more to the ground. Maybe the skin on your face feels a little softer. And then we're just going to intentionally bring our focus to our breath, practicing remaining focused on our breath. So seeing how long it takes the mind to get distracted and wander off, and seeing if you can practice just bringing it back to the breath. So we're going to breathe in, saying to ourselves, I am breathing in. We're going to add a gentle pause. We're going to breathe out, saying to ourselves, I'm very slowly breathing out, and then add another gentle pause. So the gentle pause is just an exploration, and it can be even helpful to say to yourself, gentle pause. We're not trying to hold our breath and enforce a restriction until we feel that little edge of panic. Just trying to pause and notice what it feels like to hold breath in for just a moment, and then to hold breath out for just a moment. And then let all thoughts of your breath go. Bring your knees into the chest. Take a little wiggle of the knees and hips, and then take the feet to the ceiling. Spread the toes. Look at the feet. Start to experience the feet and the legs. Pedal the feet. Move the ankles. Take circles. Whatever feels right in your feet. Connecting to your feet and your legs. And then begin to pedal the legs. So we're going to press one foot up to the ceiling as we bend the other, and then switch like you're riding a bike. Starting to feel the legs. Notice if your back is firing up here. If your back is doing some work here, press your hips down into the ground with your stomach muscles. Try to take a little of that back tension out. Use the stomach. And then maybe take the feet towards the wall rather than the ceiling, starting to feel a little more core engagement. Bring your feet back up to the ceiling. And then we're going to bring our knees over our hips. So starting with our knees over our hips, bring our feet even with our knees, hands on our thighs. Start to fire up your stomach. So this should feel like you're activating your stomach muscles already. Press your hips into the ground, press your rib cage into the ground, and we're going to inhale, lengthen left side, long arm, long leg. Exhale, bring it back together. Inhale, lengthen right side. Exhale, bring it back together. So, thinking about Ahimsa, we can make this movement slow and controlled and paying attention. Or we can flop around and we can use our back muscles and we can not pay attention. And maybe we're not really focusing on the muscles we're trying to strengthen, and in turn, we might pull another muscle that's not really intended for use at this moment. So really focusing in on pulling the heat, pulling the strength into the stomach muscles. Inhales, you lengthen. Exhales, you squeeze back together. Nice and slow, trying to keep your hips really solidly still on the ground.
Clicky.
And then bring your knees into your chest. Give yourself a little hug. And take the knees in circles, just kind of feeling what is present in the hips. Nice, slow circles. And then round the other way. Feet to the ceiling and either grabbing shins or outer edges. Happy baby. You can take the static, you can rock it. Just kind of noticing where your feet are, where your hips are, how you feel. On the knees into the chest, roll on over to a side and make your way to a tabletop position. So starting to move and breathe in tabletop. Inhale, tabletop. Exhale towards a child. Start to take movement in whatever way feels right for you. Some hip sways, some changing of weight. Maybe you're bending the arms and starting to warm up the shoulders. Start to make this movement yours. What feels right for your body in this movement right now? Inhaling forward, exhaling back. Moving with your breath, nice and slow. And then bring it to tabletop. Hold the tabletop. We're going to bend our elbows and take small little push-up shapes, nice and slow. So lower the elbows, nice and slow, and back. Trying to remain engaged through the arms, through the chest. Watch for bowing and wiggling through the back, paying attention. Thinking about doing no harm. So how do you do no harm to the muscles of our body? We pay attention to what we're using. We engage. Now take your arms wider than your mat. Same movement. Try something different. Bending the elbows lower and lift. Lower and lift. And then if you're ready, tuck the toes, hover the knees, same movement, lower and lift, engage the legs, engage your core.
This is sad.
Doing no harm if your body is not ready. So, if your body is not ready for this movement, it's going to look a lot like this. You're going to buckle through the shoulders. You're going to buckle in the back. You're going to feel lack of strength. So, stay where we were. Stay in this smaller movement. And then pop up to down dog. So feel your first down dog. Move in whatever way feels right. Warming it up however your body feels it needs. Moving the hips, pedaling the legs.
Do no harm for me would be going back to the couch.
Well, in the long run, that does harm. So there's the problem. So laying on the couch forever and never moving also does harm. You gotta find balance.
Not if you never get up.
So from here, we're gonna take down dog push-ups. So option to make your hands a little wider. And we're gonna bend our elbows. So really take a lot of attention into your stomach and your legs. And we're bending our elbows, moving our shoulders down towards the ground without too much sway. So watch for swaying left to right. Watch for moving too much in the hips. Try to keep engaged. And again, back down to a tabletop shape if this is too much. Where are you at? Regular down dog, find your breath. Slowly, without adjusting the weight in the arms, lift the right heel. Try to stay solid in the arms. We're going to bend the knee, and we're going to take that knee in a circle, nice and slow. So really thinking about the hip. And then maybe taking your circle a little bigger, bringing your knee towards the shoulder, and then back. Moving through strength in the arms. If this is too much, there's a tabletop version, bringing it down. How do you practice doing no harm to your own system? Bring your circle in and back. And then lift, three-legged dog. Lengthen. Step through a low lunge and find your blocks. So move and breathe in your low lunge, bending the knee forward. Inhale, exhale, sending the leg towards straight. Moving slow. Move with your breath. So, Ahimsa here. Thinking about your own patterns. So there's a lot of ways, a lot of styles of movement where they say never go past certain angles, never go in certain ways. However, if we're practicing doing no harm and really paying attention, our body can move in all kinds of angles. And yoga is really the only exercise movement where they say all these things about safety that don't apply in any other sports. So, play with your movement. Move your knee in funny angles, nice and slow. Feel the other muscles of your legs, not just the ones that move you in certain planes. And then find a solid low lunge. Lifting up off that front leg a little, both legs engaged. So really strong legs. We're going to slowly come forward, bring the left heel towards the glute. And lower. Inhale as you draw the heel towards the glute. Exhale as you float back down nice and slow. If you're ready, start to take your fingers up. Start to lift, maybe coming up more to a warrior three. Find where you can move and play and practice with your own strength, with where you are at today. Controlling the movement. And then land in a high lunge. Wherever you're at, come to a high lunge. Bring your hands to prayer. Bring your weight a little bit forward. Fall over. A little bit forward over the front leg. Bend the back leg. We're going to slowly send the heel towards the ground and then pull it back. So smaller movement in the back leg. See if you can freeze the front leg. You should start to feel it in the right glute. Smaller movement. Notice that it's sometimes much harder to stay on your mat with a smaller, more subtle movement. And then frame out the front foot. Right foot meets left. Either high plank or tabletop for this. So listen to your body. Look for buckling. Get strong in high plank. Really strong. Strong shoulders, strong core, strong legs. Breathe and hold. And then back to the circles with your knees. So lift right heel, bent knee. Bring that knee round in a circle. And then up to down dog. Round in a circle plank. Up to down dog. Nice and slow. Controlled. Really paying attention. So flopping around in movement, we're not paying attention. We're not doing no harm. We're really trying to restrict this movement. Go slow. Feel every muscle. And then lower the right leg. Knees down. Slowly come down to crocodile pose. So find your crocodile pose. All the way down to your stomach. One hand on top of the other. Forehead down. And shimmy the hips. What can you let go of? So, wonderful time to check in. We've only used the right side. So notice left and right sides. Notice what is different. Slowly bring that right knee up towards the right shoulder. Press the heel down. Feel the glute space, so the hip and glute space on the right side. Press the heel down and then see if you can pull up the right knee. So imagine you're just pulling it up. You're not going to lift it very high, but try and fire up. Fire on and fire up.
Very high. I can't lift it at all.
Notice this space.
I'm using my arm.
So this is a wonderful time to check in with those compensation patterns. So notice if in trying to lift this right knee, you're pulling into the left hip, you're using the back. Just fire up. So fire up this glute space, the outside of the leg, and lift the knee. And then bring that back, bring the heels up to the ceiling, and slowly sway. Lower the feet. And we're going to bring left side up. So left knee in towards the shoulder. So this leg is not warmed up in the way that we warmed up the right. So as you fire on and fire off, notice if it's harder to connect here. Fire up. Fire off. Breathe.
See my leg lifting? It's amazing.
I see your hip moving. So Kaylee's going like this. She's lifting her hip.
I'm not lifting my leg at all. It's not moving at all.
Bring the heels both up to the ceiling. Take a little sway. Let go. Bring the feet down, and we're going to work the back. So bring your hands wherever you want to have them, just for balance. We're going to fire up all the muscles of the back of the legs, the back muscles, the glutes, everything evenly. Inhale as you lift shoulders, exhale as you lower. So thinking about lifting the shoulders and then getting long from the tailbone to the crown of the head. Moving with your breath. Maybe you can start to bring up the arms. Maybe you can start to bring up the feet. Going as far as your body feels it's ready to go. Not going for someone else's goal of getting archy or looking a certain way, but feeling your own back muscles and starting to connect and strengthen your back. Bring it back down to crocodile. Shimmy the hips. What can you let go of? And we're going to work with moving through holding patterns. So a little bit softer this time. Take your hands out wide. Lift shoulders. We're going to turn and look at the right foot. Lower the left shoulder. Switch sides. Inhale, center. Exhale, turn. Inhale, lower left shoulder, look at right foot. Inhale, center, exhale, lower right shoulder, look at left foot. So really slow and really just working through what is present in your own shoulders. So taking some wiggles, taking some feeling, noticing your own shoulders, your own upper back. Slowly bring it back to center and back to child's pose. So maybe leave the hips a little wider, a little higher, and think about some space across the low back. Breathe. And then back to down dog. Find your down dog. Check in with your pose. Connect with your head below your heart. Maybe lift your hips a little more out of the ground. Slowly, without moving arms and shoulders, lift left heel to the ceiling. Bend the knee. And take some circles with the knee, slow at first, feeling the leg, feeling the hip. And then making the movement bigger, bringing that knee towards your elbow, coming to a high plank shape, and then back to down dog. So moving with the leg. This requires a lot of thought, a lot of engagement, a lot of presence. If it's too much, remember, do no harm. Stay in tabletop. Make the same movement. Coming through with that hip. And then bring it down to a tabletop. Hold the tabletop. Get really solid, so strong in your shoulders. Really feel like you're pulling your hands apart on the mat. So really engaging your arms and shoulders. Lift and hover the knees. Engage through the chest, through the stomach. Roll the way down to the heels. Find as many muscles as you can to engage and breathe, and then soften the face. Breathe and hold. Left leg lifts, heel to the ceiling. Little circles, teeny circles from here. Notice that it feels a little different than when we do it in down dog. And then straight up to three-legged dog. Step through low lunge. Find your blocks. Warm it up. Inhale forward, exhale back. Taking an exploration of your own muscles, your own holding patterns. what's present in your legs, in your ankles, in your hips, in your knees. Exploring your own body, your own practice. And then find a little lunge that you hold really strong. So both legs strong. Notice that you may need to bend the back leg a little to keep it really strong. If you lock that back knee, it's a little harder for this leg to feel strong all the way through. Hold, and then we're gonna slowly bring the weight more onto the front leg. Draw the right heel towards the glute. Slow. We're pulling it towards the glute. We're not kicking forward. We're not just jumping around in space. We're trying to find muscles. Pull forward. And maybe this is enough. Or maybe you're going to start to try and float it and lift. Go to where you can go, doing no harm to your own system. So if you cannot hold your practice with a nice steady breath and keep a conversation going, you're going too hard. Maybe little bursts of working too hard is okay. Maybe you can handle that. Maybe it's a goal. But trying to pay attention and really knowing what you're doing to your system rather than just throwing yourself around in space. If you're just throwing yourself around in space, you might as well just go do a practice at the gym. We're not doing yoga.
I like fell over and then stood up and fell over again.
And then wherever you're at, land in a high lunge, comfortable high lunge. Bring the weight a little bit over the front leg and bend the back knee a little. And we're going to draw the heel down towards the ground and then pull back. So slower, very small movement. Nice and slow. So now we're trying to watch these hips. We're trying to watch that the hips aren't floating around, rolling around in space. We're trying to control this movement. Be present with the back leg, keeping the front leg engaged, keeping the core engaged for balance, keeping our attention on our breath, staying present on the mat. And then frame out the front foot. Left foot meets right. High plank or tabletop. So from here, we're gonna practice coming forward with bent elbows, not locked elbows, bent elbows. Bringing your leg towards that tricep and then back. So we're gonna go opposite sides. Left arm comes to left leg comes to right arm. Right leg comes to left arm. So this is the tabletop version. However, this is me kind of floppy. I can do this just leaning around. I'm not actually engaging any muscles. This is what flopping around and just getting it over with looks like. This is the same practice engaged. So my muscles are strong and engaged. I'm gonna bend and take it slow. I'm gonna feel all of the muscles. I see Kaylee's quit already. And then plank version, even more intensity. We're gonna pull the leg towards the arm and then back. Pull it towards the arm and then back. And maybe you can land your left leg on your left tricep. So hold it here. Maybe straighten up the leg, maybe not. And then go to the other side. Land, straighten or not. And then find a child's pose. Let go. Find your breath. Return to the mat. And then find down dog. Bend the knees, look towards the hands, and either float, step, or hop, or even jump up. All the way to your hands, feet underneath hips, forward fold. Hold the forward fold. Let go. And then we're going to bend the knees, and we're going to come up to the point where we can engage glutes and legs. We're going to hold our hands onto our hips. If you want to make it harder, you're going to take your hands out. But start with your hands on your hips. We're going to work the back just a little. So we want all of the leg muscles engaged. And we're going to lift shoulders and then lower. Inhale, lift shoulders. Exhale, lower. Start small. And feel the muscles of the back. Feel the muscles of the glutes and the legs. And then start to make it bigger. And then come all the way up. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, purr to heart. Give your hips a little shake. Find your mountain pose. Check in. Notice what is present. Find your pause. Soften your face. Soften your hips, your low back, your shoulders. Soften your toes. Find your pause. Inhale, arms up overhead. Exhale, swan dive down. Touch the ground. And you're going to step back straight to down dog. Find your down dog, and we're going to talk about that pause. So, finding a pause in down dog. We're going to move a little more quickly. Notice what it feels like to move without pause. Maybe not think so much about our breath, have an experience, and then we're going to move intentionally with a pause. So beginning by really listening, we're going to step right foot to right hand, left foot to left hand, right foot back, left foot back. Down dog, right foot to right hand, left foot to left hand, right foot back, left foot back. Just moving, move pretty quick. Feel your muscles, feel engagement, move. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. Right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. Sorry, just in the clothing. And then we're going to make it bigger. Right foot, left foot, inhale up, exhale down, right foot, left foot. Right foot, left foot, inhale up, exhale down, right foot, left foot. Switch, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot. See what happens when we're not pausing and we're not thinking. This is an intentional workout. Okay, then we're gonna go left foot, right foot, up, inhale up, exhale down, left foot back, left foot, right foot back, left foot, right foot, inhale up, exhale down, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, inhale up, exhale down, left foot, right foot, left foot, right foot, up, exhale down, left foot, right foot, find your down dog. Find your pause and notice. Notice what is present. Notice the energy level in your body. Notice your thoughts. Maybe notice a bit more tension in the breath. Maybe you're panting a little. Find your pause. What happens in the pause? You catch your breath, your heart rate slows. Notice, notice, notice. Notice the pause. And then from here, we're going to work in down dog hops. So, noticing the pause, bend both knees, right leg lifts. We're going to bring the right leg past the left, and then we're going to pull it up and over and hop. Up, over, hop. Up, over, hop. So, do this with a little pause in between. So, lift and slow.
Ow.
And intentional. Notice, pause, reset. Pause, reset. Lift, pause, reset. Lift, pause, reset. Switch sides. Left leg lifts. Cross the right, pause. Lift, reset. Lift, reset. Find the pause. And then bring it back, down dog, and find a still pause. Lift right leg high, step through low lunge, drop the back foot. Come on up over your 2 feet. Straighten this front leg. So, staying with that Ahimsa theme, we're going to explore triangles. So, I want you to close your eyes and go into a triangle, whatever that means for you. So close your eyes, don't look at my triangle, don't look at Kaylee's triangle. Go into a triangle. Where are you at? What can you feel? So just go into a triangle, flop in. What can you feel? Find the triangle that you think is the exact shape you're supposed to be in. What can you feel here? Slowly draw yourself back up. Reverse your triangle. And we're going to take it a little different way into triangle. So bringing your right arm up even with the shoulder. Start to engage. And we're going to think about why we're going into a triangle pose. So for today we're going to go into a triangle pose to experience opposites. So we're going to think about opposites from pulling up to the ground and pushing down, experiencing some strength in the core, some strength in the legs. And we have no goal of being in a particular shape. We just want to have an experience. So push, begin to push. Begin to push with this right arm. Push forward. So rather than exactly thinking about the arm, we're using an arm as a guide. Think about moving from the shoulder. What happens? Do you start to feel some muscles over here in the right and the left side? Push, 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 push. Now begin to lower. Lower, slow, this right arm. Are you locking the legs? Have you forgotten your legs? So see if you can feel like both legs are engaged. So left leg engaged, maybe you need to bend the knee a little more. Right leg engaged, maybe you need to bend a little more. Can you hold this? Now you're pushing down with the right arm. Can you pull up with the left? So feel push, pull, push, pull. Feel those opposites. Push the right arm down. Pull the left arm up. Feel. Notice you're starting to feel some muscles maybe in the torso. Maybe also that left glute is firing. Notice perhaps you're holding some tension in the neck. Be mindful of the neck. Notice you're gripping with the toes maybe. Feel this push-pull. And then hold a position where you can keep both directions active. So you still feel like you're pulling up and pushing down. Extending and growing. Breathe. And then reverse your triangle. break. Lengthen the right side body. Pivot on the back foot. Frame out the front foot. Right foot meets left. Plank pose. So hold the plank here. Or maybe in child's if you need a break. Hold plank. Step that right foot back up towards the right hand. And just play with the leg, moving the leg around. So move the knee around. Feel the hip. You want to play with the balance pose again. You're going to rest the knee on top of that right tricep and try and come forward. Just playing. Start by playing. Maybe you're going to start to, oh, my pants are really slippery. Just slid right off my arm. And then meet me in down dog. And guess what? We have another leg. Slowly lift left leg high. Step through lower back foot. Warrior 2 feet. Come on up. And we're going to go through that same triangle experience. So find a triangle. Close your eyes and go to your habitual triangle pose. So lean over. Find where you're at. Notice. And it's not that we're noticing that this version of triangle, whatever we think is normal for us, is wrong. We're just asking ourselves what we're doing each time we go in. So I can hang out in this version of triangle with absolutely nothing engaged. So I literally have no engagement in the legs, nothing. I can come here and I can be really strong. Now I can start to feel some engagement in my muscles. Reverse your triangle. Open your eyes. And we're going to play with coming down in a different way, having a different experience. Lift arm forward. Start to push. Start to really feel the oblique space. Start to push. Push forward. Both legs strong. Knees are not locked. Slowly push all the way forward, keeping some engagement. Lower the left shoulder a little, and then push right arm up. And then we're going to reach down, pull up. Reach down, pull up. Want to feel lots of engagement in the torso. Reach down, pull up. Watch for tension in the neck. Wait, this is my weak side. It's like totally stops me. I'm gonna fall. And then scoop it up. Reverse your triangle. Slowly bring it back to neutral. Turn your toes out, feet, heels in. Now we're going to forward fold here. If you like, you can grab your block and come down so that your torso is in line with your hips. Find the place that you can fold into that feels right for you. If you want to work outer legs, you're going to keep your feet a little closer together. If you want to work inner thighs, you're going to wiggle your feet out a little more. Things to watch for. You can take this static and just hang out. If you want to move, things to watch for. Watch for the movement coming from the sacrum. So in the hopes of doing no harm, we can move our legs, we can move our inner thighs, but we want the movement to come from the legs. We want to feel it in the legs and not in the spine or the sacrum. So move through the hips or hang out static if you want to just take a little break. And then from here, bending into both legs, we're going to slowly spin our body around. So left foot is forward. And if you want to play with the floating, the arm balance, you're going to place both arms down. And that left knee on the left tricep. Come forward, start to practice balancing that leg up and maybe coming forward and lifting the back leg. Play. And then wherever you're at, after you're done playing, find a comfortable seat. That was quick.
I forgot how to do it. Couldn't figure it out. It would take longer for me to figure out how to do it after class.
Send your legs long. Just feel your feet, wiggle your toes. Point and fold straight. Point and flex your feet.
Point and through your legs straight.
Words are failing me right now. I can't English. Take some circles. Feel your legs. All the hard work is done. Hooray!
Point and fold straight.
I lied. I have one more movement. A little bit more core work before we go. Just another example of Ahimsa, do no harm. So we're going to place our hands behind us.
Do harm by lying to me and telling me it's Shavasana.
Well, it's not Shavasana time yet. You got some time. So, if someone told you that your hands need to point in a 90-degree angle underneath your wrist needs to be underneath your shoulders, hands need to point towards the hips, think about that. Think about having an experience of how that feels in your body rather than doing what somebody else said is exactly right. Feel your hand.
Hands towards hips.
Yeah. Point your hand in whatever direction feels right for your wrists. So you have space for your wrists and your arms feel strong. So press your hands down. Start to take little movements in your arms, starting to feel the strength in your upper arms. So a little bit of strength in the upper arms here. Engage the core. So this isn't moving through the spine. Engage. Keep still. Little movement. Start to engage the arms, and maybe you stay here with this movement, or maybe you take the hips up and start to take the movement a little bigger. Engaging, nice and slow. And if you want to see if you can go a little further, you're going to start to lengthen the feet. So watch for over straightening the legs and all the weight landing in the knee joint. Keep a little bend, keep the legs strong. Lift and lower. Woo. Challenge yourself, but do no harm. Where is your level today? And that doesn't mean to say if you can come to this level normally, today might not be your day. Like every day is different. So how do you practice doing no harm in your own system? Lower. Take the torso up. Wiggle the hands backwards and pull forward. Find that nice open stretch. Breathe. Take the tension out of the head and neck. Come on up to an easy seat. Nice and long. We're going to take one arm at a time in a big circle. Loosening, softening, landing, finding your breath. Move a little through the spine, a little through the torso. Find the shoulder. Notice what is present. And then we'll take it side to side, rainbow breath. So one arm over, inhale, center, other arm lands, rainbow breath. Inhale up. Exhale over. So watch for looking for someone else's version of this shape, flopping in. Watch for lifting of one hip so you get further over. We're just trying to have a movement through the torso, finding our breath.
I can feel my body, like, I can hear it, like, it's like concrete starting to break. It's funny. It's like crumbling. All my joints are starting to move again.
Kaylee's been a couch potato for a while. She's experiencing movement for the first time. Inhale up. Exhale over. Bring it back to neutral and we're going to twist it. So it's inhale, like neutral, exhale, twist. Inhale, neutral, exhale, twist.
It's crackling.
Move with your breath. Watch for that same thing. Watch for the hips trying to compete with your body. Just take the movement through the spine. So we're just looking for how the spine can move and making a little freedom moving with our breath. Bring it back to neutral. Bring your feet down. Lean back enough that you can engage your torso. So we want to engage the core really, really, really tight. We don't want to flop onto the low back. So lift up. Think about lifting the sternum. Imagine there's a string on your chest and it's pulling it up. Pull, pull, pull. Engage really, really tight. It can help to look towards the ceiling to get a little more engagement. You're going to keep your hands down for balance and lift one toe at a time and then the other. Experiencing one toe. Maybe you can have both toes up and kind of moving up and down. Core, core, core. Maybe you can hold both toes. Maybe you can start to lift the fingers. Lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. Get longer in the spine. Breathe, 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 breathe. And then lower down, all the way down. Find yourself on the ground. Not legs straight. Take your hips down, feet down, knees up. Land where we started. And notice what is present. Take some sways. And then return to your happy baby. So, how does it feel? What feels different? You can hold on to shins. You can hold on to outer edges of the feet. You can sway it. However it feels right. Some people like to take yogi toe locks or wrapping around their big toes in this pose. Start to let go of the concept of right and wrong, should and should not. Like, how should this pose look? Start to think about how this pose feels. And each pose has a multitude of reasons why you might want to practice it, a multitude of things you might experience in the pose. You can change your way of thinking and take one pose into 4 different ways of being a pose. There's not should and should not, right and wrong. It's just having an experience. How do you feel in each pose? What can you practice in each pose? And then curl yourself up in a ball. So bring your knees in, squeeze in, and find the pause. What is present? So maybe your mind is already rushing ahead to Shavasana. If you're not particularly fond of the pause in yoga and the grounding practices in yoga, sometimes they are the hardest part to learn. Maybe your mind is already rushing off to, I'm done, I'm moving, I'm going back to my day. See if you can hold on the mat for just a little bit longer. Maybe giving yourself the promise of moving into Shavasana, your resting pose, for maybe just 1 minute today. And then do a little assessment of where your body is at. So, where do you think you might need to be for your resting pose? Perhaps your feet need to be up on a chair. Maybe you need a bolster. Maybe you need a blanket. Start to assess where your body is most likely to relieve tension. So find the position your body can be in that is actually a resting pose. So what is a resting pose? A resting pose is not one last stretch. A resting pose is where we learn that pause, where we learn how to ground. So in our rushing about worlds, and especially if you come to this practice to feel physically stronger, the stopping and pausing is very difficult. Sometimes our minds get so used to constant feedback and stimulation from our environment that when we stop, it just goes wild. Our whole system goes into kind of a panic mode. So these pauses become more and more important, and it becomes so important if you notice that you're starting to have disruptions in your sleeping patterns, because our body cannot cope, our whole body, not just our physical body, but our body system cannot cope with this constant stimulus. And it needs some processing time, and if we don't make the processing time, then the time that it finds to process is typically right when we want to turn off and go to sleep. So then our whole system has a little more challenge. So when we teach about Ahimsa, do no harm, our theme of the week, theme of the next 10 weeks is working with the yama and niyama. So when we think about doing no harm, the process of doing no harm to either ourselves or to another requires that pause. So as you're starting to release and surrender into the ground and release as much as possible from your muscles as possible, you can tune out, you can ignore everything I have to say, or start to listen and see more of a whole body experience. As you're starting to release the tension from your body, can you start to think about incorporating that pause in your whole system? So the pause that is required before we make a decision, is this going to do harm, needs practice. It is not something that comes naturally to everyone. It needs practice to pause. And what do we need in that pause? We need to know how our system is feeling, what our system feels like when our emotions are very strong and powerful, what our system feels like when we feel like we have a little space to breathe and process. We need to know all of these things about ourselves so that and we need to know the ego. So we need to know when the ego is the one making all the decisions. It's not that we get rid of the ego and that we need to have no ego to be a perfect person, but we need to know when it's making all the decisions. So the ego forms shells of protection. It forms the protection of deciding who we are and identifying with who we are. And without getting to know all these layers of ourselves, then we have no ability to do that pause, to take that breath, to do an assessment. So as you're starting to lay here on the ground, what can you feel? What emotion can you feel present? Maybe there are multiple emotions. Maybe you can feel conflicting emotions. Maybe you feel happiness and sadness at the same time. Maybe you can feel a little anxiety and worry. Maybe you feel a little comfortable. Maybe you just feel plain tired. Notice how your system feels. Without that noticing, we can't make decisions for our behavior if we don't know how the system feels. See if you can bring a little more softness to your system. See if you can bring a little more softness around the breath. Maybe there's some muscles in or around the breath, laying around your breathing that you haven't softened. Sometimes when we're stuck in fight or flight, we don't notice the muscles that we hold tension in. So bring awareness to the muscles in the torso. to the muscles in the low back and the glute space. Maybe you're fired up still, ready to run and flee. Notice. Do you even know what it feels like to be strong and tight in these muscles? Do you know? Maybe you need to bring your fingers to your breathing muscles and feel around. Maybe being tense around your breathing is so normal for you, you don't even know there's tension here. Maybe you need to bring some fingers in around the muscles of the jaw. Maybe the muscles around the jaw are still tense. Maybe in the muscles in the base of the neck, in the base of the skull, top of the neck, are still tense. Bring some softness here. And then bring some softness around the eyes, around the cheeks, around the lips. And practice letting go, softening into the ground, letting go of the burden of worrying about tomorrow, letting go of the burden of holding on to the past, and just landing in this moment on this mat and letting go as much as possible. Finding that pause in your day. And whenever the head pulls you off the mat into tomorrow or into yesterday or into the to-do list or any other place, just practice softening, softening, softening in the physical layer, so much so that you begin softly to let go of the physical thoughts, the gripping of the thoughts. We ungrip the muscles, we ungrip the thoughts, we ungrip around the feelings and just notice. So soften, 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 let go. If you have the time to spend practicing, please take as much time as you need. If you need to finish up at 60 minutes, here we are, right on that 60-minute mark. So begin to bring yourself back onto the mat. Start to feel yourself on the mat. And very slowly, take some wiggles of the fingers and the toes. And then curl up in a ball in the fetal position and find that pause. So the teachings, the yama and the niyama, the sutra, all of it, the teachings are so old and been through so many translations, and people have given us so many versions of them. There's so much to learn from some simple things. That Ahimsa, do no harm, being the first one, feels like it's the most important. Do no harm. And in fact, if everyone just lived like that, the world would be pretty simple. Like if nobody would ever do any harm to another, then life would be a lot more comfortable for everybody, obviously. But the fact that it's not the true existence of the world right now, the fact that it's because it's not easy. And it requires discipline, which is also in the teachings, and it requires learning, and it requires all of the other parts. So first thing, one of the easiest things to start to incorporate it is to learn that pause. And here we are again in a familiar position, a fetal position, a pause position. So it's a shape that's kind of protective. We want to think about being in a protective shape, imagining even So the first time this was said to me, I thought it was very strange. However, we want to imagine we really are back in a womb, back in a time when all of our needs were met and we had not judged ourselves as negative or positive. We were simply a spark of life. We're trying to go back to that, trying to feel that experience, dropping all of the other layers, dropping all the experiences, dropping the gripping to the experiences, and just finding that inner spark, that little spark of life that exists within us, unchanged by judgment and harsh inner critics and experiences. And pause in here. This is the part that guides us. When we can pause and be in touch with this inner wisdom, this is the part that will help lead us, help guide us in this principle. This is the part that sends disruptions to our thoughts whenever we fall off the path of doing no harm to another or to ourselves. Think about when we overindulge or we've done something that we knew we shouldn't do for ourselves. Our thoughts go round and around and around and around about judging ourselves and how we shouldn't have done that and how awful we are to ourselves. That's the inner wisdom sending disruptions through our system to try and guide us back on the track that's more helpful to us. So take a moment, sitting in this inner wisdom, taking that pause. And the more that you practice, the more that you come to this familiar pose, the more that you try, the easier it becomes, the more that this becomes a ritual, the more that this becomes a sacred space for you to connect within. And also know that some days you're going to come to these poses, you're going to come to a practice, and the mind will not let you rest. It will not let you find that break, and that is part of the learning journey too. Even the most experienced people have off days. So then come on up to a seated position, taking your time and trying not to become too alert as you come to a seat, and bring your hands to prayer at heart space. And yet again, in this pose, we end our practice honoring that inner wisdom. So we bring our left and right sides to meet in front of our heart as if accepting ourselves as whole and complete, precisely as we are. Honoring that inner wisdom within us, and then we honor it in others. So imagine from this space where your hands are touching your heart center, sending it out. And you can imagine somebody else, or you can imagine a group, or just imagine shooting out a color, like shooting out an energy, a feeling, something visual, sending out compassion and kindness and unconditional acceptance. And we can only practice what we know, so we practice bringing it in. We practice accepting ourselves and giving ourselves unconditional loving kindness, and then we practice sending it out. May we all know a whole lot more compassion and kindness throughout our day. The light in me sees and honors the light in you. Thanks for joining us.